welcome.
Hi everyone, great to be here. I've been here a couple times before. Thanks for coming out. My newest book is They Killed Our President, 63 Reasons to Believe There was a Conspiracy to kill President Kennedy. And I really wrote this book for my own selfish reasons, and that was this. I've been studying the Kennedy assassination diligently since about 1985. It was actually pro wrestling that got me into studying it, because when wrestling made its change from being regional, where you drove and lived in one area and you drove, to when Vince McMahon and then WWE today took it national. Well, we switched from being in cars to flying in planes. And anybody that's ever earned a living flying a lot in planes know you get a lot of dead time. You sit in airports, you sit on planes. And so it was at that point in time that I read. I thought, you know, there's one great thing you can do. You can educate yourself while you sit around with all this dead time. And so I started picking up every book I could lay my hands on the Kennedy assassination, and started reading and reading and reading. And lo and behold, after about 5 to 10 years of that, I came to the assumption that we were lied to by the Warren Commission, and it was a complete cover-up. And so I wanted to, in my study of 25 years of this event of war, I felt that turn them cell phones off. By the way, I never owned a cell phone, nor will I ever. Now I made a life's mission that when I leave this planet, I want to be able to put on my gravestone, he never owned a cell phone. And I've got a feeling I may be the only one.
You'll be in the Guinness Book of Records.
There you go, the Guinness Book of Records. But the selfish reason I wrote this book was I finally decided, you know, for whatever it's worth, say 100 years from now, I want people to know that the 38th governor of Minnesota did not believe the Warren Commission and did not believe the official story of the murder of our president. And I felt the only way I could really officially do that was to write a book on it. So now I have, now it's official, everyone knows where I stand on it. And I challenge anybody to go into this book and, let's say hypothetically, maybe one of the things isn't true. Well, that means there's still 62 other things that are. And when you break it down that way, as I said in the book, when someone's charged with murder, you have to be convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, what you have in this book is 63 reasonable doubts that I believe Lee Harvey Oswald would have been acquitted on. I feel strongly that it is time to rewrite history and to Lee Harvey Oswald has 2 daughters who are still alive today, living in the United States. And I feel very strongly that they don't deserve to have their father labeled as this heinous killer that he's been labeled for 50 years now, that he killed one of our most popular presidents. And I think that we as a people in our country, we're in denial. That's why you get so much anger. You get almost anger when you write a book like this from certain people. Because I don't think anyone wants to admit that on November the 22nd, 1963, a coup d'etat happened in the United States of America. And what is a coup d'etat? Well, a coup d'etat is when government is overthrown and a new government comes in. And that's fine if it's done in the ballot box. You know, that's what we're about. But November the 22nd of 1963, it wasn't done in the ballot box, it was done with a bullet. And they killed our president. And it's interesting because the mainstream media is a culprit in this. Many times you'll hear that here's the battle against you. They'll say to you, well, if it was a conspiracy 50 years, someone would have talked, right? We've all heard that. Somebody would have talked. Well, the point is somebody has talked. Many people have talked. But mainstream media won't report that. They won't report to the general public when someone has talked. Richard Nixon, right on his infamous tapes. It's on his tapes. He said the Warren Commission was the biggest hoax ever pulled on the American people. And that was the President of the United States. He talked on my TV show, if you were followers of it, when we did JFK a couple years ago. E. Howard Hunt from Watergate fame, his son St. John Hunt, had audio, visual, and written confession from his father, a deathbed confession, and when you watch it, Howard Hunt looks totally within his faculties. Yes, he's dying. He knew he was dying and wasn't going to live much longer. And many people feel if they're religious, it's at that time you better start confessing, you know, if you have those beliefs. And so many confessions happen on the alleged deathbed as you're doing that. So many people, and you'll see in the book, have talked. It's just that mainstream media won't report on it. I would tell you today, if a film clip, someone with a camera, and it surfaced today that had an actual filming of a shot from the grassy knoll and the president's head exploding from the reverse side of Zapruder film, mainstream media wouldn't even air it. It would get buried. You would have never seen the Zapruder film if they had their way. The only reason the Zapruder film came to light was Jim Garrison. And for those of you, and many of you, I'm sure, are preaching to the choir here, for those of you that don't know, Garrison was the district attorney in New Orleans who brought the only trial in the Kennedy murder case against Clay Shaw. And imagine a district attorney not getting the subpoenas honored by his own government. The federal government blocked Garrison's subpoenas on many witnesses. That tells you right there, doesn't it? Why, if it's the story they told us, why would they feel the need to block anything? So kudos to Jim Garrison, a district attorney with courage, who, because of what he did, we have the Zapruder film, which puts it on film, the entire thing that happened, because the Time Life had purchased it, and they weren't going to let it see the light of day. For those that have done their history, Time Life at that time was very entrenched with the Central Intelligence Agency. And so, I guess, that's about all that I'm going to talk about. I'll let the book speak for itself. I think you'll find it a tremendous read. And the good thing we did in this book, on many of the witnesses and the things we talk about, we list right at the end of the paragraph where you can go on the internet and view it and see it for yourself, and you be the judge. Watch it yourself and make your own determination on it. And that's what I loved about the way my two co-writers, Dick Russell and David Wayne, and kudos to them, because they're phenomenal at researching. I don't have the patience for that. I'll read the research after they've dug it up, and I'll educate myself that way, but I'm computer illiterate. I don't own a cell phone, and I don't do computer, I don't send emails, I don't do any of those things. I found out I'm 62 now, and it's interesting that as you grow older, you become your father. And you never dream it will happen, because it's growing up, I'll never be like my parents. And before you know it, when you're in your 60s, you look back and you start thinking, oh, gee, I'm just like my dad. But there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.